Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. What's the one group of people that it is almost impossible to be able to influence them, to persuade them, to get them to go along with what you want them to do? And here's a hint. You were one of them at one point in your life. Yes, that's right. We have a winner. Teenagers. It is the one group where you cannot tell them what you need them to do. Instead, you have to show them how others in their environment are doing the same thing. Now, what does this have to do? The fact that teenagers cannot be influenced, they cannot be persuaded, and it is even really hard to manipulate them. What does that have to do with you? Leaders, and if you've been in my world a while, I already know that you're a leader. Leaders have one thing in common with teenagers, and that is the motivator of, do not tell me what to do. Why is that? Why is that for teenagers? Because up to age 13, they're like a sponge, accepting all the suggestions about what they can achieve in life and how they should go about it. Their conscious factor, the critical factor that makes decisions in what's being dumped into them, doesn't really develop until it starts developing around age 8, and then 95% develop by age 13. So up to that point, they're receiving everything, not based on, is it true about them, but based on, this is what others in their environment want them to be, so that other person can have an easier life. It's called the human condition. Okay. So around age 13, teenagers are going, I've got to process all of this, and I'm not sure if it's the truth about me or not. And so that's what they spend, the next almost decade trying to sift through. It is the same thing about a leader. They don't want to accept outside suggestions that say, no, you need to lead this way so life will be easier for me. No, a leader's like, no, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to find the best way to experience this based on my brilliance, based on what I want to bring out. So leaders still have that in common with those teenagers that can be so stubborn. But as a leader, this is the sticking point, because you've confused, don't tell me what to do, with, oh, you have to do it all on your own. It's so lonely at the top. You don't have any support. You don't have people there because you feel like you can't rely on them to do the job correctly. There is a difference between autonomy and achievement, and you don't know that. And this is the reason why it's going to be harder and longer for you to turn those dreams into reality, because freedom has nothing to do with you receiving what your next level of success is. So let's talk about the difference between freedom and fulfillment, and how you're trying to push progress instead of setting yourself up to receive it. Think of it like this. Let's say that there's a feather that's floating down. And that feather represents your next goal, your next dream into reality. What might it be? I don't know about you, but I've been working on what I want to experience in 2021, because the subconscious mind says that when you get closer to a threshold, what is it that you want on the other side of that threshold? And the end of December, beginning of January, that's a common threshold. So the subconscious is already preparing. It's already saying, okay, what do you want to experience on the other side? It's like moving from one room into the next. And if you don't tell the subconscious what it is that you want to experience, then it's going to make sure that it recreates what you've already had currently on the other side, because the subconscious cannot plan for the future. That's all conscious mind. That's critical factor. The subconscious mind can only repeat what it's already experienced, or it can find ways to bring into your experience what you consciously choose. So for me, I'm looking at 2021. I'm talking to my mom who has some mobility issues. And I'm like, Mom, where do you want to go as far as a trip? What do you want to explore? I'm looking at what is it I want to do with my own health? Want to do some intense backcountry hiking. And so I know that I'm going to spend several months then getting myself conditioned. So you want to look at what's known as the 5 to Thrive. And the 5 to Thrive are the 5 areas of your life. So you've got your finances. That's always number one. And the reason why it's number one is not that money is the most important thing of all, but it touches everything that is. So if you do not have that resource to draw on, you're constantly having to be resourceful on how to make up for the shortfall. And that uses up your internal resources that you can be using in other areas of your life. So money is always number one, that you want to be looking at how can you increase your wealth in ways that it works for you. Then from there, your health. What is it that you want to experience? What's the next level? And I'm not talking about you want to be a certain size or you want to have a number on the scale. I'm talking about how do you want to use your body? Because the subconscious mind is designed not to look for experiences that are end factors like a certain number. The subconscious mind says, how do you want me to use this? Which is the reason why I said with your wealth, finding ways that it can support you instead of you working to support that bank account balance. Okay. And then after that, you have relationships. How do you want to go further in exploring those? I know that I'm looking with my grandkids doing something known as the 12 months of Christmas, to where they're going to get a gift from me. Shh, don't tell them. They don't know this yet. They're going to get a gift from me that says each month, let's look at a different experience that we can have together. Are we going to go horseback riding? Are we going to go to the local science center and explore some STEM projects? Are we going to do that hiking? So remember, the subconscious mind says, use me. Get me engaged. And if you do not engage it that way, well, it'll find ways to be engaged. That's going to be with the drama, the crisis, the confusion. Okay, so let's see. We've done wealth, we've done health, we've done relationships. Oh, career. That's number 4. So the subconscious mind is going, what do you want to experience next in your career? By the way, if you're joining me live, if you have any questions, give me a shout out in the comments. I'll do my best to answer it while we're on today. So the subconscious is saying, what's the next level that you want to experience? Again, not as an end zone, but what is it that you want to bring out in your brilliance? And then finally, after that, what's something you've been thinking about doing? Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's going back to school, but you've been thinking about doing it. And maybe 2021 is the year when you finally decide to make it happen. So you need to have those very clearly defined as much as you can right now, as far as what you want to move into. Now let's talk about the difference between autonomy and achievement, because as a leader, this is what will keep you stuck and struggling. And those 5 areas that we just went over, you're going to get hit 2022 without any major progress in those areas, because you're walking around with the attitude of, don't tell me, I can figure this out. I know what I need to do to bring myself out at my very best. And I have to do it all on my own. Don't tell me what to do. Yeah, you need guidelines to reveal who you are at your very best. It's not what you're doing, it's who you're being in the doing. But you have to do it all on your own will not work. Why will it not work for achievement? That's because your current circle are people that you've picked. Even if it's your family, if you're still engaging with them, you're choosing to have that relationship. So you're picking this relationship with your current circle. And that current circle, because you've picked it, all they can do is accelerate the path that you've already chosen. They cannot give you insight on upgrades that need to be made. Let me give you this example. Because I train others to become certified hypnotists, and then they need to learn how to build their business. I also have a business building group for successpreneurs, success and healingpreneurs. And one of the things that I tell them is that if they look to their current industry for insight and how to build their business, they'll be able to accelerate their success in that certain area that they're looking at. But they're not going to get the breakthroughs. They're not going to get the ahas that allow quantum leaps, because that only comes from looking at outside industries. Now, we're talking about you and your personal success, but I'm trying to give you an example of something to carry over from business building. You see, banks. We're all used to a bank having a drive-through, right? Well, they didn't always have those. Where did banks get the idea from drive-throughs? Was it looking at other banks in their industry? No, all they could look at in their industry was how to get more customers in the door. They had to look outside of their industry and look at what the fast food industry was doing as far as drive-throughs. And somebody came up with a great idea of, well, fast food can do that and serve more people at once. Can we do that and actually lower the amount of tellers that we have to have inside because we're having people come through a drive-through? This is the reason why breakthroughs for quantum leaps in success will not come from the group that you have surrounded yourself with, whether it's your friends or your family. It needs to come from an outside group that you did not pick. And yet, no one's telling us that. And this is the reason why we think we have to do it all on our own, because the people that we've picked to hang around us have a shared motivator with us, but they don't have all five. And you need to be surrounded by people who are activating all five that you did not pick. So what are those five motivators that will have you moving into success forward, faster, quicker, and easier? Okay. If you've been in my world, you've heard me talk about this before. You take your hand, you put it on a piece of paper, you draw around it like you're making a turkey. It's going to be the five motivators. You're excellent at one of these. You suck at the other four, which is the reason why it is so hard for you to turn those dreams into reality, because this is what you're doing. Go back to that dream I talked about earlier. And one of those five areas, and imagine it now as a feather and it's floating down, and you're taking the one motivator that you're really good at and you're trying to catch the feather. What are you going to do when you're trying to catch the feather like that? Okay, for those of you who are listening in on the podcast, Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire, just imagine trying to grab a feather with just one of your fingers. No, it's not going to happen. Plus, you trying to catch it, with that action, you're actually pushing the feather away. How much easier is it if you take all five motivators that actually lead to a high quality life, and you take it and you have an open palm and you allow that feather to float into it? Okay, let's talk about how that shows up. Very first motivator, status. Status, when used incorrectly, says that I'm going to compare myself against others. Correctly, in a healthy, functional way, you should be comparing it against your brilliance. How much are you turning on today? How are you discovering additional ways to turn it on? You're not going to get that from the people that you've chosen to hang out with in your circle if status is one of your motivators. Why is that? Because you're a leader and you pick people who look to you for status. You don't have anyone you can look to. All right. Now we've already discovered we have a challenge. Then the second one is control. That's that index finger. You use it in a dysfunctional way. You're pointing at others and going, the only way my life will improve is if you do this. Nope. You need to point it back at yourself and go, the only way my life is going to improve is if I take 100% responsibility on how I'm moving forward and how I'm showing up with my status. But again, you're going to have to be triggered by others that have more regulation than you. In case you haven't noticed, that's one of the things that's sadly missing in our society right now is self-regulation. It has turned out to, our Bill of Rights, well, that doesn't work if I'm offended and my feelings are hurt, right? Nope. Your feelings don't have anything to do with it. You need to learn how to turn that fear, how to turn that upset, how to turn that sadness around to extra energy, because that's all it is. It is peak experiences and energy, but they've been used in a dysfunctional way. You need to know how to flip the switch on them. Okay. The third one, and this is the one that most leaders are very high in. It's that middle finger of autonomy. That's right. Freedom. Don't tell me what to do. And if you try to tell me what to do, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get that middle finger. You've confused, though, as a leader, freedom with fulfillment. Freedom says that, okay, yeah, give me some guidelines, show me a system, and now I'm going to figure out how to make that system work for me. I need to customize it. But the only way you can customize it is by using all 5 motivators. And again, you're strong in one, you're very weak in the other 4, and the people you surrounded yourself with probably share one of your common denominators that you're very strong in. And this is the reason why all they can do is help accelerate your success, or accelerate your failure. It goes either way, but they can't give you the breakthroughs in the other 4 areas that you're going to need to be able to put your hand out and allow that success to float down into it. Okay. By the way, this motivator of freedom, when you experience it in a high functioning way, you have high levels of creativity. The brain is literally free to explore other avenues instead of going down the same old path. Something for you to think about. But that creativity is inspired by being around other people who have creativity. And the way you get creativity is you look outside your industry. You look outside your goal. You've got a goal of health and wellness. Where's your next breakthrough for freedom going to be? Somebody that's working on their finances, somebody that's working on their relationships, because they're going to trigger inspiration in you to come up with a solution that's customized to bringing you out at your very best that you hadn't done before. Okay, then you've got the ring finger. This is all about relationships. How are other people going to benefit because you're a success? And this is one of the challenges that you can have as a leader, which is one of the reasons why you're like, I have to do it all on my own, is because you were conditioned to have relationships in a very dysfunctional way. You were conditioned to bargain on the behalf of others in the privacy of your own mind. You were trained and conditioned to bargain on their behalf at the expense of yourself. And at some point you said, enough is enough, because that's not what leaders do. And that's probably why you became very rebellious as a teenager, why your teachers were going, oh, they just never listen. And you're going, no, you don't teach well enough. It's the reason why you have bucked the system all along. And it is the one thing that will absolutely exhaust you, because you're not supposed to do it all on your own. You're supposed to do it with a group of people that are wanting to celebrate your success just as much as they're wanting to celebrate theirs, but you don't know how to pick those people. Okay. And then the very last motivator, which is your pinky finger, is truth and what's fair in life. Now, life's not fair, which is the reason why this is the weakest motivator that there is. It has to be paired up with one of the others to actually have a high level of success. Okay, life isn't fair, and you're still looking for those people, just like you were when you were a little kid, when you were like, promise you're going to be my friend forever. Pinky swear. And they were your friend until you outgrew them. They were your friend until you decided that they weren't going to use you any longer to bring themselves out at their best, that you decided you were going to move forward. And that's when the don't tell me what to do turned into, I have to do it all on my own, and I'm absolutely exhausted with this. Okay, so in just a moment, we're going to wrap this up with your plan of action, the things that you need to do to begin to move forward. If this is making sense to you, I want to give you an offer of joining me in a very small group, very special group, mastermind, where you can try it out for 30 days and make sure it's going to be a fit for you. But you are going to be surrounded by 5 other people. There's going to be only 6 total, 5 other people that are all going to come from different backgrounds and different areas and different motivators. So these are not people you've picked. These are people that I'm picking. And this way you can move forward with your success, putting that hand out and letting yourself receive it, because that everybody is activating each other in a way where you're using all 5. If you want more information on that, go to drewdawnferguson.com/store. STORE. You're going to see a very special savings that I've got going on just for the holidays, how you claim it. You're going to see the link there that you can click through for Time to Thrive Mastermind, and then you can claim those savings. Again, it is a month-to-month group because you need to try it out to make sure it's a good fit for you. And it is a group that I am personally leading. Okay, so let's wrap this all up into your plan of action. Number 1. Because we're getting close to a doorway, a gateway, moving into a new year, you need to be looking at those 5 to thrive areas and what is going to be the brilliance that you're going to bring out about yourself in each of those areas. How are you going to be challenged? Number 2, look at the motivators and decide which one are you your very best at. And now you can also start looking at how you've picked people around you to where they share that with you, but you're always leading them. You're always one step ahead of the game because you excel in that area. And then number 3, now you can realize it's not your fault. Why you have to do everything on your own is because you have that motivator in common with the people around you that you've picked, and you're leading them in that, which means you are not being led by anybody. You're not triggered in a way that takes you to the top. So the exhaustion is not your fault, but you have to take 100% responsibility from moving from I have to do it all on my own into I need to be fulfilled. And the way I'm fulfilled is by who I surround myself with that I did not pick, but we all have a common end result, and that's turning on each other's brilliance. Thank you so much for joining me today. drewdawnferguson.com/store, STORE. And I look forward to seeing you in the mastermind. Time to thrive.